If you were around during the time of the abolitionist movement and you didn't support the fugitive slave law, what would you do to help stop slavery? In the beginning, there was a man named Luther Lee who was the founder of the Wesleyan Methodist Church in 1846. Located on East Onondaga Street, this church was used to hide runaway slaves and help local abolitionists. For example, one of these abolitionists were Jermaine Logan. Many abolitionists will sacrifice their life to get these slaves to freedom. He sacrificed his life because he was also a runaway slave who helped hide slaves in Syracuse. If he was caught, Logan would have been arrested or brought back to his slave master. Samuel May was also an abolitionist who sacrificed his life and families by hiding slaves in his home. May also could have been arrested due to the fugitive slave law. The fugitive slave law is a law that stated any runaway slave that was caught running away would be brought back to slavery and would receive consequences. Also, anyone who helped or hid the runaway slaves would be arrested and brought to jail. Would you have sacrificed your life and family's life to free these runaway slaves?
In 1854, Samuel May and Luther Lee organized a debate at the Wesleyan Methodist Church that lasted 11 nights. This debate was about letting Syracuse become an open city or anti-slavery city. The abolitionists were very public about their events. In the mid-1800s, the church windows were so clear you could see through them while walking past. In the late 1800s, Charles Merritt donated a stained glass window to the church. Today, this stained glass window is still there with Charles Merritt and his wife's name on it. The basement where the fugitive slaves were hid was a dirt tunnel-like basement. While the slaves were down there, they carved faces of others. But no one knows who they carved faces of. Today, the basement still has 2 half faces and the rest are at the OHA. There was also a carved dirt bench in the basement. But unfortunately, in 1898, there was a fire at the church, ruining most of the carvings. Did you know this building is the oldest church building in Syracuse? There are many leaders and followers in this abolitionist movement.
The followers were the escaped slaves. Slaves headed north to freedom by letting Harriet Tubman lead them by following symbols in a quilt and using the North Star. Harriet Tubman was an important leader in the Underground Railroad. Another leader was Luther Lee. He hid the slaves and, like Harriet Tubman, helped them move along the Underground Railroad. Did you know that slavery was common in the 1500s? Both Cortez and Lee were leaders, but in a different way. Cortez was a leader in a cruel way. Like a slave master, he led the natives to Spain and treated them like slaves. On the other hand, Lee was a leader because he led the slaves from their masters to the church, and eventually to freedom in Canada. Therefore, both these leaders were involved with slavery. How would you feel if you were one of these slaves led by Cortez? Would you have wanted someone like Lee to support you?
In conclusion, the Wesleyan Methodist Church was a very important station in the Underground Railroad. Not only was this a place to hide the runaway slaves, but was also a place where the abolitionists went for meetings. But today the church is a restaurant called The Mission. Now that you know about the sacrifices and the Wesleyan Methodist Church, would you have sacrificed your life like Luther Lee, Harriet Tubman, or the slaves? How do you think the slaves felt being put in a situation like this? Think about it, because the more we know about slavery, the less likely we are to let it happen again.